What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another one of our Wednesday underwriting uh, calls. So today we're going to be going through more of just underwriting and structuring wrap deals and lease options. And so it's my goal with these calls to help you guys understand just the mindset around structuring wrap deals, how to price them, what we're looking for, what we're not looking for, and so on. So if you have deals, bring the deals. This is my way of giving back to everyone, just for everyone going from 0 to 1. Like the first step is really understanding how to structure and underwrite these deals. Because as you learn to structure and underwrite these deals, then we are able to make better offers, and everything along in the process becomes better. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. If you have deals, put them in the chat. We'll talk about those later. First, I'll kind of share through the whole ecosystem of what we have built out here, and hop aboard. And everyone who's all the bird dogs in the house, like we have a lot of buyers on this call as well. So comment in the chat, talk in the chat, squad up, figure out ways to work together. And yeah, so let me share my screen. And so we have a handful of different things. Most of you guys know we have Seller Finance Freedom Academy. This is our free community where you can come in. I give tons of stuff away for free here. We have some really good exercises, start here, foundation, like really just building out that core knowledge. And this is my space for everyone who's getting started, just to come in and begin learning the basics. Because I know when I first started, I didn't have a home to go to where I could like really dial in and get rid of all of the shiny object syndrome and just focus on one thing to take action to start getting results. So there's tons of people in here asking questions, doing deals together. So talk here, comment, be present, be on the leaderboard. But definitely join the school if you're not in there already. We also have the Wrap Academy, which is our paid mentorship. That's for people that are taking the next step, and they are going to really focus on this model and actually do the deals and take it to the next level. But for everyone who's not in Wrap Academy, like what we have is everything that you guys need to really understand and begin learning how to structure wrap deals. And that's what we're here for, and what the basics are is just coming in, understanding how to wrap, structure, do these deals. We'll do the deals together just to get from 0 to 1, so we can start understanding how to get off the sidelines of not doing deals or just wholesaling and not doing buy and hold, to make that gradual transition to buy and hold. Because wraps for me and lease options are the easiest way to get from being non-buy and hold investors to being buy and hold investors. This is the easiest way to continue doing what you're doing on the side with wholesaling or whatever else it is, and then also start building residual cash flow and start building that monthly recurring revenue. So check me out on Facebook as well. I'm very active on Facebook. I'm very active on. I just started YouTube, so check out my YouTube as well. We just posted one with Gregory Crane talking all about the slow flip method, which is another variation of our exit strategy. But I'm starting to post very regularly here. This video with Ashley Abbott is everything we could easily charge for this. It's everything, actually going through his entire subject to contract and breaking down every step along the way. So really valuable stuff. Hang out with us, subscribe to my YouTube. And yeah, my goal is to just give as much value as I possibly can to everybody, so that we can start getting away from not holding properties to holding properties. And so that's overall what we're here for. And so today, I'll break down for you our deal maker, our underwriting tool. If it's of value, I want to prioritize making a free underwriting tool. The deal maker is for our paid students, but I want to make a free basic underwriting tool so everyone can have a basic tool they can use to underwrite these deals. So Mama Bear says she has a possible deal. So if you want to put the deal information in the chat, I'm happy to go ahead and run numbers on that. If anyone else has deals as well, throw them in the comments, throw them in the chat, ping me, and we'll look at those numbers and we'll run through some of those numbers. All right. In the meantime, we can look at some of my old deals, just what I'm looking for in this type of deal. So this is our deal maker, and let's go to a property that we did in the past. All right, right into it. So this property was a DSCR loan. So we bought this property for cash. We then did a small renovation on it. We then refinanced it and sold on seller financing. So I want to focus more on the second half of this equation. Because when you start doing these deals, the first question you're going to have is how do I get long-term financing in place, right? And there's different answers to that question. This is kind of everything should be custom to who you are as an individual and what skill sets you desire to develop. So, for example, Mikal in our group, she has done flips in the past, right? And a lot of people in Rap Academy talk about creative finance acquisitions. And so, creative finance acquisitions are amazing, but like if you already have the skill set of doing renovations and you know how to do that, and you already know how to find deals by going on the MLS or using an LOI blaster or going direct to wholesalers, then you already have that skill set. So we don't need to go away from that skill set, right? So wholesalers, for example, you guys have the skill set probably of direct to seller acquisitions, marketing, structuring the deals with the sellers and doing the negotiations, right? You probably don't want to do the renovation work unless you're already flipping. And so there, like then start looking into the creative acquisitions where we can buy houses subject to or with seller financing. And that way your challenge of how do I get long-term financing in place is resolved. Because when you're looking to get long-term financing in place, like there's different ways to do it, right? So you can do the Burr model, buy, renovate, refinance into a long-term financing, and then do seller financing, right? And then if you do that, you can buy straight from a wholesaler or straight from the MLS. You have to figure out the whole rehab component. And I know when I first started, I didn't want to do the rehab component. It was not in my wheelhouse. It's not in my gifts. It's more operations heavy. It's more like understanding mechanics of a house heavy. And that wasn't really what my gifts were. So I prefer just to focus on the sales, the direct to seller marketing, and then also learning how to lock up deals with seller financing and creative financing. So the first thing is really to hone in on like how do I get long-term financing in place, right? And so an easy answer is going to be buy property subject to. In order to do that, you need to one, learn how to find property subject to, and two, learn underwriting, right? Because all the negotiations and the structuring, a big part of that is getting versed and knowing how to talk about these deals, right? If you just say like, oh, well, I think I can do this, and I think I can do this, you don't actually understand the numbers, then it becomes really, really challenging. Because you don't have the numbers in front of you and you're just kind of going in blind. But when you understand how you can underwrite deals and you understand how you can price them to sell and what the numbers look like on the sale side, then it's easier to talk to that agent or that seller because we feel confident in what we're able to offer. You're not shooting blind, right? And often when we first started, like we were shooting blind and we're trying to get as good of a deal as possible because we didn't know if there was a deal or not. Okay. So, okay, cool. Mama Bear's got a deal for us. It's 311K on MLS, Riverview, Florida. Okay. Can you give us like the street address? I can look at a similar address. It doesn't need to be the exact address if you're concerned by it, but like just something on that street. And then I'll go ahead and start underwriting this. And we'll also look at, whether or not it's desirable, whether the area is desirable, whether the type of property is desirable. And then we'll talk about the cash to table also. And then if you know the PITI, the information is also very important. So as you gather that, I'm going to go in and just start adding some information into our underwriting tool. And I will share my screen as well while I do that. And just put in definitely the PITI. And then, I can look in Riverview, Florida, but if you have any other information, that would be helpful. Okay. So 311,000 on MLS needs 28,000 cash to close. I'm assuming realtor closing costs, etc. Okay. So let's go in here and just gather this information really quick. 311, 28,000 down. Okay. And this is in Riverview. So let's begin by analyzing the market, right? So let's see if it checks the boxes for the market. Who knows what the boxes are that we check for a given market? If you do, put it in the comments. Okay, cool. So Riverview, I can see right here, it's in the Tampa Bay metro, which we really like. It's in a metro. It's not like a rural area that's super far from everything. Riverview to Tampa. So it's about 25 minutes away. This is, the market itself, good market. We like the market. Second thing we can check. A lot of our buyers tend to be first generation Americans. So let's just check Latino population. Oops. Okay, so pretty heavy Latino population. A lot of our buyers tend to be Latino. 26% is extremely high. Okay, and what else do we want to check? The population of Riverview doesn't matter as much because it is in the metro of a major city. So check it checks all the original boxes, right? This is a market that I would like to mess around with. Okay, so she bought 2 years ago for 305, and we're at a three bed, three bath, 6.5% interest. Okay, so 6.5% interest. The mortgage is, I'm guessing, going to be 311,000 minus 28,000. She bought a few years ago for 305. Then I'm just gonna say it's at 300. So mortgage is 300. Her entry fee is okay. Let's say that we're buying for 328, and the down payment would be 28,000, leaving 300,000 on that mortgage. So the next thing we want to know is current market value is probably going to be somewhere around that 328 is my guess. And feel free to put in the comments what you think that the actual true market value is. Rehab estimate. If you know the rehab estimate, if you have photos, that'd be amazing as well. And we can look at the photos also. So it's a three bed, three bath. So next thing for me is going to go to Rentometer and just get a ballpark of the rents, right? And one of the other nice things about this type of deal is that, when you're doing a fix and flip, you have to be very, very certain of every single aspect of your numbers. Where here, like it's more like Play-Doh. You can move things around, you can increase where the down payment is and lower the monthly payment, or you can lower the down payment and increase the monthly payment. You can kind of play around with the numbers that way. So the average market rents are about 2,000 in Riverview for a 3-3. So 2,000. Let's find the taxes. Might be challenging to find the taxes. I usually find these on Zillow. So if you give me here, let's see what we can play around with. I'm not a robot. Okay, let's see if we can go to Riverview, Florida, and just look at a houses for sale. Cool. This one's similar. Okay. New build, 316,000. Okay. It's a new build, so the tax might be a little bit higher. But let's go ahead and see if we can find the taxes. Not available. Okay. Let's go to ChatGPT. Okay. So not going to be an exact estimate, but this seems probably pretty par for the course. And then also, if you know what the insurance rates are in the area, I imagine Florida's going to have higher insurance rates on the coast. Kansas City's usually about $110. I mean, you can always get insurance quotes just by reaching out to State Farm and asking them for a quote. Okay. So now let's dive in here. So that brings our PITI to 2549 at 6.5% interest on $300,000. So let's look in our StreamYard. We have no more information on the property. So off the bat, what do you guys see? Market rents are 2,000. PITI is 2549, right? So this makes it overall a challenging deal. right? Just because that PITI is so high because of those taxes and insurance, and it is a slightly higher interest rate. So it makes it for a really challenging deal. But let's go ahead and see what we could price it for. So market value, let's say 328 times 1.15, 377. Obviously, we want a down payment, and obviously we need an interest rate. So with the higher price point with the taxes and insurance, it makes it pretty challenging, because we're $1,500 above market rent, which is not going to fly. And this is one of the ways people just get into bad rap deals. They don't understand this. You have to look at what the market rents are in the area. And I get it, what we're looking for as well when we do our first deals is we're looking for base hits. We're looking for like easy singles, and that's where I really love the affordable housing range, because can you find a buyer who will pay $3,500 per month for this house? Well, they're paying $2,500 as their mortgage, right? So there's probably people that are going to pay $2,500 already because they're buying a house and paying that amount for the mortgage. $2,500 in itself is a little bit further outside that affordable housing range, but once you get above 3,000, it's really challenging. And so, could we buy this and structure it in a way where we don't take any interest rate arbitrage, and now we're at 3,000? And our cash flow is not, it's not great. Plus, we have $28,000 into the deal, right? So, good things about this deal: we like the market, we like the location. The price point is challenging, and if you're putting $28,000 into the deal, you would ideally want to get that money back out. And then after holding costs and closing costs, it just becomes, to me, a riskier deal unless you're very familiar with this market. Once again, I really like to go towards affordable housing for this. Florida can be really good, just in less expensive areas, right? Because Florida does have really high Latino populations, entrepreneur populations, so it's very possible. But for me, especially like not knowing the market, I would not pull the trigger on this. Even though it would make $70,000 over 7 years, it doesn't work for me, because the cash on cash is a cash on cash is a huge thing that investors look at in general, right? And so if I put $28,000 into this deal, how long will it take for me to get that money back out? And so if we got the 3,000 down and we had to do a few months of holding costs, and maybe a little cleanup, the cash on cash actually isn't horrible. But the cash flow $300 for the risk of like, am I going to be able to find a buyer? And that's also, still 3,000 per month. It's a wholesalable deal, right? If you can get the entry fee a little bit lower and find someone in the area that's really versed in the area, it's possible. But if you're doing your first ever wrap deal, I wouldn't suggest it. I think it's a little bit too risky. All right. So Kayleen has a question. Would it be a deal if there was $0 money in except closing costs at market value? I would say, yeah, for sure. Because if you're getting $0 into that deal, you can then easily wholesale that deal, because someone's going to be looking at that as a rent by the room or some other way. So if you have a low enough entry fee, then you can make it a deal. And another thing that one of our students does is he focuses more on, he's not closing on the deal until he gets a family for the house. So if you're in negotiations with somebody, you can structure in a way that you can find the buyer in the period of time that they're still in the house, right? Before you take ownership of the house. That way you lower your risk a lot. So there's ways to structure in that way as well. But yeah, if it was $0 money in, except for the closing costs, I would definitely say that's a deal, because you have multiple exit strategies. I'll say another big thing about doing buy and hold real estate is you always want to have multiple exit strategies. Like whenever I underwrite, I'm underwriting very conservatively. Like I want to like overestimate the holding time. I want to overestimate the money we're leaving in the deal, overestimate the holding costs. And that way, I'm surprised by making more money and not surprised by making less money. Yeah, it's a great question, Kayleen. Okay, so for property management fees, there's no property management fees. So when we sell houses on seller financing or on long-term lease options, there's no management involved. And that's like one of the things people love about this model, is that once you have somebody inside of the property, you don't need to do a whole lot. It's just, when we buy a house from the bank, we're not going to reach out to the bank and say like, hey, my toilet broke, right? The bank would say, I'm sorry to hear that. What do you want me to do? So like no one's reaching out to us with these types of issues. And that's one thing people love about this model. A few things people love about this model and why I think it's like one of the best, especially for entry level, especially when you're wholesaling or working a full-time job and once you get to that first $10,000 per month in passive residual income, is that there are no it's true cash flow. So you're not dealing with any sort of capital expenditure. Like when something breaks, it's not on you. It's as passive as it gets. We only get reached out to for insurance claims or if someone to collect money if someone's not paying. And we have a 90% success rate. And the only families that we had to take out of the house, they literally gave us the keys back. Um, what's up, Jeff and Dan? You guys have any deals for us to look at today? So these are some of the things that we love about the model. And yeah, keeping asking in the chat, ask questions. I'm here to help you guys understand like some of the basics around this and some of the basics around these types of deals. Okay, if anyone has another deal to look at and analyze, that was a really good one. Thanks for sharing that with us. It's just the more we can do this, the more repetitions we get, the more we see, what a deal looks like, and the more we understand what a good deal looks like. Okay. So how will the seller get the cash needed? Can you clarify what you mean by that? Okay. In the meantime, let's go and look at some of my old deals. I've been having a really fun time looking at my old wholesale deals. Okay. So here's a property that we bought, or we actually wholesale this. 501 to 503 Mare Road. We wholesale this to a friend of mine. This property is a duplex. So let's see what the numbers look like. We had it under contract for 107. We sold it for 129. We got a $13,000 assignment fee. So I'm not sure where that other 9,000 went. Regardless, we got a contract for 107 and we end up getting an assignment fee of 13,000. So 107 is where we had the property. I didn't actually have photos of the property when we first got it, but I know it was a lipstick rehab. It's in pretty decent condition. And so let's begin by analyzing the market. So what do we like? What do we not like? Let's look at Belton, Missouri. All right, we got the old Casey Railroad. So let's look it up. What do we see? Outskirts of the Casey Metro. It is south. Let's go ahead and see how far away we are from the metro. It's not the airport. Okay, so we're about 37 minutes out. So that is a little ways out, right? Let's look at our exact address. Oops. So 31 minutes. So it's not super far outside. And when you look at Kansas City or you look at Belton, you can see that it's still within that metro, right? It's not like we're not like out here where Lawrence is. We're still in the metro. It's just the far south in the metro. So let's go ahead and analyze this actual area. Next to Grandview, Belton, Missouri. %, Latino population. And once again, not all of our families are first generation Americans, but a lot of them are. Okay. Let's look at the total population, 25,000. Okay. So that's one thing that I don't like about this is that it is on the outskirts of town, right? It's not, it's 30 minutes out, it's a smaller area. But what I love about it is that's a duplex. right? We love multifamily properties. We love duplexes. Duplexes are really amazing for multiple reasons. Oftentimes they'll move another family in the side. They'll move their parents in the side. They can have two families living in the same house that are related to each other. So we really, really love duplexes. And it's 2 beds, 1 bath per unit. Okay. So let's go ahead and start filling in our deal maker. And once again, if you guys just joined, this is our Rap Academy deal maker. Like comes when you join Rap Academy. But I will, if you comment and tell me you really want this, I will build out a free one that everyone can use just to do the basic analysis on one of these deals. So they don't want an underwriting tool being the thing that is the hindrance between you guys underwriting deals and getting traction on deals. Okay, so let's go back to our HUD. Okay, 107,000. So we purchased it for 107,000. The no down payment. Current market value, say 180. Obviously, you need to do some underwriting on PropStream or on the MLS to get the exact current market value. Comping is another thing that you get to learn at the very beginning. And there's endless videos about comping on Jamil Jamji has some really good ones on YouTube that I use when I was first learning how to comp. Okay. So ARV, the current market is 150. Yeah, that adds up. So that means we bought at 72% of his value. If his current market value is 150, needs 20,000 in repairs. And then let's look at the market rents. So there's 2 ways to do this because it's a duplex, right? We can look at what a 4-1 is, and then we can also look at what a 2-1 is and maybe double it. So 501 Mare Road in Belton, 2 beds, 1 bath. So about $1,000 per side, which is great. And then let's look at 4 beds, 2 baths and see what that is. Cool. Yeah, easy. It works out. Okay. So yeah, let's say market rents are 2,000. Let's look at the taxes. About 1,228. So I always round up a little bit, 1,300. And I would say the insurance is probably closer to 100. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and look at our underlying financing. So let's say that we bought it for 107. We did a bit of cleanup on it and put 10,000 into it, and then we refinanced, right? And this is, once again, you don't have to do renovations. If you want to just do subject twos and straight wrap them, the first probably 15 wraps that we did were as is subject twos, right? We got a property subject to, we did literally nothing to it, and then we wrapped it. So it's very doable. It's just for now, like for this deal, like as you get more advanced and you're okay doing small rehabs, it doesn't take a whole lot. But once again, this goes back to what are your skill sets? What skill sets are you like? What discomfort are you willing to go through? It's like, I hate to break it to like everyone, but like every single exit strategy has its own challenges. There's no golden key of like everything is gold all the time. And that's not how life works. Life is constantly challenging us and giving us opportunities to grow. And it's more about what skill set is most aligned with who I am and what skill set do I most desire to learn and makes me really interested in learning about. Is it sales? Is it deal structuring with Morby methods and seller financing and subject to, or is it going in and doing these rehabs and managing a GC? And it really depends on who you are and what you enjoy. So whatever makes you most excited, there's different ways to do this. So I'll also show you what this would look like if it were a subject to, just so we can kind of look at both strategies and see what the numbers look like. Okay, so the finance amount, let's say it was 107, or let's say it's 117 at 7% interest. If we wanted to on this one, we could get cash out, right? Because if we put 20,000 into it, then we're all in for 127. So 127 is what we're all in for. and it would appraise for 180. And DSCR loans will go up to 80% of the value. So yeah, so this one would be pretty general. You can get a little bit of cash out. You have to factor in, closing costs on the refinance. So you can get, $5,000 of cash out on this one. Maybe $10,000, probably $10,000 to cash out if you were to do that 20,000 in rehab. So let's say that we just did it for 117 at 7%. And we didn't take the cash out. We got a better rate instead, right? Okay. So market value now is 180. Another thing that I love about this deal is I love the price point. The price point is really amazing because it's just very much in the affordable range. Cool. And so this is pretty, I mean, honestly, you could push up the interest a little bit more, or push up the sales price a little bit more. Because what I'm looking at really is this payment here. We add in a loan cushion. This is, don't worry about loan cushions. At first, like, go to the basics, right? So we just need to understand the principles of how we can price these. So this one, 1712. I know I can push that higher. We're at 15% above market value right now. We could push this up a little bit more. And now we're at 1850. I think this would fly for 1850 as a duplex. And we do have to factor in that we are in Belton, so we are on the outskirts of a major city metro, so we're not in a hot spot for our typical buyer demographic, but that's okay. And then this will equal this minus this. So yeah, this is what this deal would look like. So we wholesaled it for what, 13,000, and so this could have made us upfront after holding costs and everything, probably would have netted, let's say conservatively, like $10,000 up front. So we would have gotten basically our entire, yeah, I mean, if we took that cash out, let's say we took the cash out, and this is what I did last week. It was like, how can we get our wholesale and keep the deal? So wholesale is 13,000. So let's say we end up taking 122. So let's say we took 5,000 cash out. So that's 5,000. Now we need to get 8,000, right? And so after holding costs, closing costs, everything else, we'll definitely make more than 8,000 on this. We have our holding cost of $1,000 per month. We can find a buyer for this pretty quick at this price point. And so we can easily make more than our wholesale fee. And we can hold on to this deal and get $773 of cash flow forever, right? Not forever, but like for a maximum of 30 years. And whenever this family sells or refinances this property, we will make $75,000 at that point. We will realize that equity. And the equity is the difference between what we owe the bank and what the family owes us, right? So there's $75,000, we call it note equity, in this deal. And so it's really great. Like, I love this deal. I think $773, and this is true cash flow, right? No capex, nothing else. So this is a really, really nice deal. Things I like about it is it's in that affordability zone, right? Like, it's in that zone of affordability where we're still only asking for $1,858, including taxes and insurance and a loan cushion. It's really great. So let's look at the performance visual. So this shows us how the equity changes over time. So at the end of 30 years, the equity only starts decreasing after really 10 years. So like that equity stays pretty much the same for the first 100 months. We owe 180, they owe us 108. So 108 and 180 is 72,000, right? 75,000. So that cash flow is just free cash flow. We're just collecting cash flow and the equity stays the same. We accelerate appreciation into the future, right? So they're in exchange for having in-house financing of going through this process. We get to accelerate that appreciation into the future. We have a passive asset. There's very little management when it's set up. Love it. Okay, now let me check in on you guys. How's everyone doing? Can you guys not see my screen the entire time? Oh man, I'm so sorry. Guys, did you lose me there? Wow, we lost a lot of. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties on today's video. We can look at Rachel's deal, and then I can go back over everything I just said because I was sharing and you guys did not see what I was sharing. Okay, cool. We still have people here. Okay, let me recap what we went through because I just underwrote two deals and we had some technical difficulties there. So I apologize. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Let me share my screen and everyone hears me. I'm going to, before I look at your deal, Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the deal I just underwrote. So we underwrote this deal in two different ways. So I underwrote this as a subject deal and I underwrote it as a cash deal. So there's a few things that I love about this deal is one is the affordability zone that it's in. Can everyone can hear me? Everyone can, okay, cool, great. We got thumbs up. Cool. Okay. So this property is, if we analyze this as sub two, so at first we were looking at, we have it for $150,000 and it's at say it's at 4.5% interest, right? And we wanted to sell it at, let's do 8.9. Okay. So this is what we could sell the deal for very easily. And as a sub two at 4.5% interest, our underlying PITI is 968 per month. Okay. And then we'd be cash flowing $810 per month at this structure if we sold it just like this, right? And so one of the cool things about showing you guys with the performance visual is that this is the equity changing over time. And so for this deal, because it's a sub two, the equity is actually increasing every single year. So the equity is growing every single year, which is amazing. That's really great. We were looking at this as a jacket strategy with a refinance into a DSCR loan. The equity stayed basically the same, which had the free cash flow. Okay. 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 So now let's go in here and let's imagine because everyone's going after the 4.5%. If we went to the 7%, right, and we change it to 170,000. Okay. So if we got this property at basically full market value at a really high interest rate, let's say 6.5, it's still a deal, right? Even if it's at full market value at 6.5% interest, which is not a lot of people are going after these 6.5% interest deals. Everyone's going after the 4.5% interest. And we can still turn this into like a really nice deal. And what I was saying before is that we can actually, if we want to, if we had a slimmer deal, we could definitely push this up to 10% interest and still sell at 2,000. That's very in line with market rents. You could even sell this for a little bit more if you really want to, right? It's all a mathematical equation to keep it affordable and also to be just it's supply and demand. It's a duplex. It's a pretty hot area. Okay, cool. So that's kind of a basic structure of one of these deals. And then I can go ahead and look at someone else's deal that we can look at as well. Okay, do we lose sound again? Give me a thumbs up. Mark, you there? Okay. Chris, you have a deal in Honolulu. If you can hear me, give me some more details about that deal. And then I know Rachel has one in Baltimore. Nice. Okay, we want in Columbus, Ohio also. Okay, cool. Who should we start with? Yeah, Ricardo, let's look at yours in Columbus because I know we have other people that are in Ohio. Um, okay, good now. Amazing. So whoever sends me their address and then also the underlying PITI first and the deal details, I will go ahead and do that one. All right. Who do we want first? Okay, let's look at yours, Ricardo. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, audio, video, we're good to go. Let's go ahead and grab my deal maker. And once again, like I will make a free version of this deal maker if you guys want it. So um I don't want underwriting to be the thing that stops you guys. So I can do a light version that can give you the basics so you can underwrite these deals and not be held back by like how do I do the underwriting. Okay. So do we have any? Okay, tell me more about the structure, Rachel, and I'll go ahead. All right. Yeah, tell me more about the structure on yours, and then if there's any details about this one in Columbus. But right now, I'll just go ahead and look at this deal in Columbus, just and we'll make up some numbers for it. 6346 Clark State Road, Columbus. Okay. Okay. So first things I see. What are things that you see? What's the first thing you see when you go into the comments? Or put it into the comments. Whatever your first thoughts are. So this is in Columbus, kind of right in the middle of Columbus. Okay, this is a little bit above the median housing price. Okay. So first thing I see is it's a higher price property, right? So let's just imagine that we're doing this as a subject to, and we're taking it over for close to full market value. Okay. It's probably a little lower than that. It's in good condition. Let's look at the taxes. $8,000 per year. Yeah, so this is where you're going to start to see us like launch out the affordability zone. Those are some crazy taxes. Let's say that the insurance is 200. Okay. Let's say we bought it for 455 with a down payment of, I know they're going to be asking for a large down payment. Let's say they're asking for 30,000. Let's imagine that we got it for, well, this would be actually 455 minus that 30,000. Let's just imagine that the agent fees and everything's included in that 30,000. And we got it for 5% interest, right? So off the bat, our underlying PITI is 3,148 because there's insane taxes, right? And let's go and look at what the market rents are. And this is also like not just for this exit strategy, like as you start to do more deals, like this is how you underwrite every deal, right? Because like, let's see, what will work as a rental? With rentals, you need to factor in more things than just the market rents because you have capital expenditure and you have things breaking and vacancy. So yeah, market rents in this area is 3,100. So that's pretty high. And once again, like your underlying financing is 3,100. So you're right at the market rents. And when I first start doing deals, I want easy singles, right? I want easy single base hits. I don't want deals I'm going to be sitting on $3,000 a month in holding costs while I'm like wondering if we're going to get a buyer for it. And that's why I really like to stick to the affordability zones, especially while you're getting comfortable. Like when we first started, we did do deals like this. We did $500,000 houses in Kansas City. Yeah. So even if you match that interest rate, to me, not a sexy enough deal. It's the PITI is actually 3,148. Yeah. So it's just yeah, you could push it up and maybe you could find a buyer. And, if you did get that buyer at 37, 39, it would be a fine deal. But like, why risk it? Like if you look at the numbers of this deal and the one we just did on Meyer, see if I can pull that back up. No, okay, doesn't matter. You can see that the numbers are very similar, right? And it's just this one just has so much more risk. It's less affordable. There's higher holding costs for the same return. So and this is like just good to start learning, right? And would this work with a different exit strategy? Could you do co-living? Could you do something else? Potentially, but like what we're focused on is getting our first 10 deals, $10,000 a month in passive residuals through this exit strategy. So for me, no, and I know that they're going to be asking for an insane down payment, right? And also, like asking for 50,000 down is, that's a high down payment. Our buyer market is diminishing, it's getting smaller because there's less people that $50,000 down. There's less people that can afford $3,700 per month, and it makes it smaller. So could it work? Yes. Do I love it? No. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. I got your information, Rachel. So let's take a look at your deal. And then uh, Claudio says, what are your thoughts on funds that are invested in a wrap deal but are not recaptured from down payments and other cash on cash returns not infinite due to capital remaining in the deal? So Claudio, one of the best things about what Claudio's asking about is cash on cash returns, right? And when you're first getting started, when we were first getting started, we would make money on the down payments. And that was just the paradigm we were living in, where like we need to make $10,000, $15,000 on every down payment. And that was just like because we wanted to fund our wholesaling operation, right? And when that was our paradigm, we made that happen because that was what we had to make happen, right? And one of the things with like people, when you have more capital to spend, you usually spend more capital. So like I see a lot of people bringing these sub twos, and it's like 30,000 down, 27,000 down, and those deals just aren't that attractive to me. Like I want to get into sub twos for like 5,000 down or 7,000 down, and then it's different stages. So it really depends on what your personal financial situation is. If I have a credit line of $30,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, if I'm getting 100% cash on cash return, meaning that in the first year I'm getting all my investment back out of the property, it's pretty close to infinite returns. And yeah, if you can get infinite returns, get all of your capital out in every single deal, that's amazing. But like for me personally, I'm fine leaving 5,000 to 10,000 into a deal because if I'm gonna get it all back in that first year. And once again, most investors want 15% cash on cash on a rental or 20%. And that's not even real cash on cash because it can have expenses, right? And our expenses are basically limited. There's no expenses once the family's inside the property. Okay. All right. So Rachel has a deal for us to look at. So $395,000 purchase price, 200,000 DSCR, 195. Okay, amazing. This will be a fun one. Rachel, can you put the I see Ricardo responded also. So 60,000. Yeah. So that's even worse. So it's the entry fee is way too high. It's the interest rate is way too high. The monthly payments way too high. And this is how this is one of the ways people get into bad rap deals. Okay. Okay. So 395. Can you put the address down again for me, Rachel? And I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and underwriting this one. All right, and then this will be our final one, and we'll close out. Okay, 129 East West Street. All right, one of these row homes. So let's look inside of Baltimore. Okay, bit of a lower Latino population. Let's look at this property. It looks pretty nice to see the area. So one thing to look at when you're getting, I'm not as familiar with Baltimore. So I see downtown's here, Federal Hills here. So we do want to stay in C-class areas. This to me looks like it would be a C-class area. I just see it's a row home. I know row homes are very common in Baltimore. But let's go ahead and just look at some of these numbers. So 395,000 purchase. I'm just gonna say that's probably about the area. Let's go down here and add in 200,000 is a DSCR. I mean, that 200,000 DSCR, you'll probably get a pretty decent rate, maybe even in the sixes right now. The 150 seller carry at 5%. Let's look at these taxes. Wow. Taxes in Baltimore are also insane. Do you know what the taxes are? Do you have the taxes just to make sure I'm not way off? I would say insurance would probably be around there. Okay, so this is one of the nicest areas of Baltimore. Okay, great. I don't know anything about Baltimore. I mean, the house looks nice. Um, okay. If you know what the taxes are, yeah, 80. Okay, wow, 8190 per year. Okay, so 8190. All right, that makes it tougher, but let's look see what these numbers look like. Yes, this is 2900 PITI. Let's look and see what our rent is for a 3-3. And the thing is, like, one of the things is like, if someone's going to live in this house, they're already going to be paying that much on their mortgage, so that is something to consider. But once again, like we like base hits, we like easy ones. So let's look at it. 3 beds, 3 baths, 2,500. And you're at 2,900. Okay. So you have 15% over. I'll say for me, this one's really on the edge because market rents are 2,500. Yeah. This is one like I would do it if I was able to find a buyer while I was under contract. And that way, because Baltimore is also a different demographic, this is more of a lease option play or a long-term seller financing play. It's just like when the houses are more affordable, the risk is lower. For this one, like the holding cost is so high, and it's like so far over the market rents that it usually is a little bit harder to find a buyer. But it is going to be based off of this part of Baltimore and like how desirable this area is. What are let's look at a few other things. Big things people look at when they're buying houses, right? And this is kind of 101 stuff, like school districts. How is the school district in this area? Usually Zillow will show us. Walking score is high, probably decent school districts for Baltimore. Um, it's one of the nicer areas. So I would not buy this house as my first one and do it in Baltimore because I see there's too much of a discrepancy between what our market rents are and what our needed PITI is, right? And our margin for error is low. If this was like $1,000 at that amount, you have a decent $1,000 in cash flow. You have a decent amount of margin for error, so that worst case scenario, if you cash flow, even if you cash flow $300 on your first deal per month, but you got that one full deal to the finish line, it's a win. The things I'd be concerned about is going to be that discrepancy between the monthly rent and the monthly payments from by them, and those holding costs that you're going to have to hold on to in that period. So my caveat is, if they would be willing to, if market rent's closer to 2,800 to 3,000, then it's still outside that affordability range I like to stay in, especially for like as we're opening up a new market. Like when I'm opening a new market, I want to be like, I know this will work, because every market's gonna be a little bit different. And so for my first one that I did in a new market, I would more focus on one that's like, this is a home run, this works, rather than maybe this works. You just don't want to buy bad deals. At the end of the day, like, you don't want to get yourself headaches. And so when opening a new market, do, for me, easy single, easy base hit. And then, beyond that, you can start to look at more ones like this. I would say it's very close though. It's really close. It's just one of those, like, if you were to underwrite holding this for 6 months, are you okay with that? And that's it's just going back to that conservative underwriting. Worst case scenario, would I be okay with that? If the answer is yes, and you're like, if worst case scenario, I cash flow $200, and yeah, okay, yeah, great properties. Thanks for bringing some deals for me to look at. It's really fun to look at deals with you guys. And then Rachel says, do you worry at all about landlord-friendly states? Yeah, so you should look into the eviction laws in your city, and you should be aware of them. We just had Mikhail just brought this up in our mentorship. She said, like, what about the eviction laws inside of Cleveland versus outside? And the biggest thing is just be aware of what the eviction laws are. So at the end of the day, everything is an equation of risk analysis. That's what we're doing as real estate investors. We're analyzing risk. We're like factoring in the worst case scenarios and deciding if the risk is worth the squeeze, if the juice is worth the squeeze, right? So in Kansas City, it's usually we're gonna have to factor in 5 months of holding cost overall for an eviction. But we have other options as well. You can do cash for keys. There's other ways to structure it also. So awesome. Thank you guys for coming out. That was fun. Nice. Mikhail said Cleveland itself is very tenant friendly, which is great. So yeah, so I hope that was helpful. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We'll get better every week. Once again, like, this is my third week doing one of the a call on StreamYard, and I approach this like I approach everything. We take action, we figure it out, and we get better over time. I would say that one of the biggest things is just taking action, moving forwards. Emmerich, one of our students, just got his first deal in Texas. It wasn't the most sexy deal in the world, but he got a full iteration of going from beginning to end, and now he's cash flowing, I think, around 500 to 400 a month. But he got that full experience in, right? And he was okay with it not being perfect. And it's not going to be perfect, and things will come up, and you'll face challenges, and so goes life. That's that's what it's all about, and that's what we get to do. And we get to learn and grow, and that's what it's all about. So thank you guys for coming out. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We'll be better next week. And be active in our school. Come follow me on YouTube. Connect however you want to. And post deals you have in our free school community. We have a lot of people who want to buy in our Rap Academy. So connect, make connections, find deals for each other. And yeah, just keep progressing towards and get more and more deals. Cool. All right. Thanks, y'all.